Welcome to Talkie Talk, a movie show. I'm Susan.
And I'm Ben. Today we'll be discussing the film that asks the question, how do you like them apples? We watched Good Will Hunting.
And joining us today is our special guest, actor Derek Smith.
Hey, Derek.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Derek. How are you doing?
So far, so good. We'll see how that goes.
Very good. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to talk about Good Will Hunting in just a minute, but before we get to that, we wanted to chat with you for a couple minutes. Can you tell us, first of all, so you're an actor in LA. What kind of projects have you been in so far?
I always feel a little bit like Troy McClure. That might be a bit of an old reference for your listeners. I don't know. But I've done mostly.
Everyone loves The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Mostly TV, some film, some theater, some commercial work. People might know me from, I did a show on Netflix called What If with Renee Zellweger.
Yeah.
I've been on episodes of Westworld, Narcos Mexico, Project Blue Book, Grey's Anatomy, CSI, Criminal Minds, stuff like that. And just I also have worked, or for a while there, I worked in commercial casting as a commercial associate. So I know the industry from another side as well, which is kind of interesting.
That's interesting.
Cool.
Very cool.
I did not know that. I do want to ask about the commercial casting thing, because I did not know that. But first, what kind of path did you take to either your acting career or your commercial casting career, or both? What were some of the steps you took, or how did you find yourself in this industry?
Yeah, I had a massive quarter-life crisis. I was my senior year of college. I was getting a degree in political science, had big plans to go to law school, and had a pretty serious breakup that had me questioning everything. I was flailing a bit there for a while, ended up getting a job at Google, and just was surrounded by people who were really excited to be there. And I was more terrified that I was going to blink and be 50 and be in the same cubicle, and that I needed to get out there and explore a little bit. And so I gave myself a 3-month window at Google to see if there was other things in there. And day 76, I put in my 2 weeks notice, bought a ticket to Costa Rica to go volunteer at a wildlife reserve, and also applied to an acting school at the same time, just to explore it. It had always been a curiosity, I guess.
Wow.
So I got in. It was a 6-week summer program. They offered me a scholarship for the year program following that, and the rest is sort of history.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's incredible.
Did you make it to Costa Rica, or did you not go?
I did there for 2.5 months. Yeah, it was an epic trip for sure.
Very cool.
And then how did you break into the acting world?
Well, I went to school, and then the place I was going is the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and it's a conservatory. It's a 3-year program, and they offered me, they accepted me into the second year, but I was a little bit older than everybody because I already had a college degree, and most people there, that was their college. And I just talked to a couple of my teachers there, and they felt like I was ready to step out and give the actual business a try. So, that's what I did. And I did a lot of flailing there as well, because it's hard. There's no real path to success. It's just trial and error and figure it out. And that's kind of how I found my way to commercial casting, actually. One of the many catch-22s in the acting business is you can't get a union job. Well, you're not supposed to get a union job unless you're in the union, but you're not supposed to be in the union unless you've already had a union job. Yeah. And so, how do you break into that? Commercials are a good way because they're just such high volume. They're casting so many people all the time. And as long as they can justify giving you the opportunity, they don't have to pay any penalties. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend who had been working for a commercial casting director who was taking a leave of absence. She was going to France for a summer and offered to train me. And so I got my foot in the door there. And I ended up getting some opportunities just from being there. And that's how I got my SAG card originally, was through a commercial for Jimmy John's sandwiches. So
that's cool.
That is cool.
Can you just tell us more about the field of commercial casting?
Yeah, so it's basically just finding actors, finding talent for any commercial that you see on TV. And we do some print stuff too here and there, but it's mostly just the commercials that you see on TV, anything during the Super Bowl, we probably cast some of that. And it's just really seeking talent for those spots.
Cool.
Interesting. Do actors apply just, try out like they would for a TV show or a movie? Or how do you find people?
Yeah. So It's a good question. Really, actors don't normally apply themselves. There are certain things that we'll put out to the public, and then actors can have profiles. But basically, the way it works is we get hired by a production company. They give us a list of the characters that they're looking for, a breakdown of the age, maybe the ethnicity, the general breakdown of what they're looking for, and we'll put it out. We'll put that breakdown out on different services. We used one called Casting Frontier. There's other ones called LA Casting. Well, actually, there's an NY Casting, but it's all the same company. It's Actors Access, really. Actors can create their own profiles on that and submit themselves, but more often than not, it goes out to the agents and maybe just the agents, and the agents will have a roster of talent. They'll submit that talent. We'll get thousands of submissions that we have to comb through, and then we pick the people that we want to see. It's usually, depending on how many roles, we'll say like maybe 50 to 100 people per role for a commercial casting. Okay. We'll come in for the initial process, and then we'll have callback auditions after that. And then hopefully, if all has gone well, you'll get the job, and then you'll make the final cut, and then the final cut will air, and then you'll make some money.
Interesting. Since you've done that and acting, which do you prefer?
Oh, acting, for sure. Yeah. Casting has always just been a way to pay the bills,
Sure.
Something to keep me busy and sane in between projects. As I said, it was an opportunity to maybe get my SAG card and just to see things from the other side, which is nice. You get to learn from the other side.
Yeah.
There are parts of it that I enjoy a great deal. It's always nice giving somebody a job. Making that phone call is pretty lovely.
And do you think that experience has helped you and get jobs and sort of understand that side of the business?
Yeah, it definitely it's helped me get some commercial jobs for sure. The business is pretty compartmentalized, so it hasn't helped with the theatrical side of things, I would say, at all, other than just gaining a general understanding of being on camera,
Sure.
going through an audition process. Really, more than anything, I'd say the biggest thing that I took from that I would love to pass on to all actors is how arbitrary it all is, and not take anything personally. If you didn't get the job, it has so little to do with you, and so many other things that are happening that are so far out of your control. I usually tell actors in at least the commercial side of things, if you're getting called back, if you're making it to that second audition, you're doing it right. The rest of it is just out of your hands. So stop beating yourself up.
Very cool.
That's good advice.
As an actor, I've worked on quite a few different kind of projects. What are some of the differences between maybe working on a network versus working for like a streaming service? So I'm thinking, you've worked on CSI, but you also worked on Westworld.
And What If is a
exactly
Netflix.
Yeah. So what are some of the main differences from your point of view?
The pay structure, the contracts. Other than that, it's a lot of these projects I haven't been on for long enough. Maybe I'm only in one episode, and sometimes like Westworld, that was an overnight shoot. I had one scene, it was overnight. That's all we did. So I don't really have any way of gauging how their day-to-day business is. It really depends on each specific project. But as far as the streaming service goes versus network and all of that, I haven't noticed any big differences other than the contracts are different.
Okay.
I would say that certain projects that have been like Grey's Anatomy, by the time I got there, they'd been on for 12 seasons, I think. They're a well-oiled machine. Whereas like Project Blue Book was on their second season, and they just got this influx of cash, and they're like excited about it, and they're figuring it out. And there's a lot of excitement going on, but it's not like we're still figuring out the best way to do this, right?
Yeah.
So a little different in that way. But I haven't noticed any major differences in at least the way that things are on set.
So it sounds like the difference would be more so like the age of the show versus what kind of service it's on or what kind of network it's on. Like if it's a show that's been on for a while, it's going to be run differently. Just they've had time to figure out what they're doing.
And every scene is different. Some things are, something like CSI is a procedural. Again, that's a well-oiled machine. Even though your character is unique, that same character has been on that show literally in every episode, right? So like they as an actor, you're kind of stepping in to fill this certain role, and like it's almost acting by number in some ways, whereas like some things are a little looser and you have a little more freedom and a little more creativity, and it all just depends on the specific role, the scene, all of that stuff. Sometimes there's special effects happening depending on what the show is. Sometimes you're just talking. It's a case by case for sure.
Do you have any like either favorite moments as an actor or in commercial casting?
I have a lot of them. I don't know how long you want me to talk. I'll start with one that's the most rewarding moment that I've had so far is in What If, I played a pansexual character who gets involved with a gay couple, and just the way that specific storyline was written, it was very grounded. In some ways, our storyline was the most grounded in the entire show, and it was the most loving and human, and all of these things. And that was personally rewarding in a lot of ways to see this non-heteronormative storyline told in this way that you don't often see on screen. It's becoming more common now as we're progressing, but it's still, than not, you see it presented as this crazy radical thing. And so it was really rewarding for me personally just to get to be a part of that. But then just the outpouring of love and support and appreciation that I got from literally around the globe, because that aired everywhere, was just amazing to be a part of. And one of this ended up happening a few times, but the first one really hit me hard was I heard from this kid who wrote to me, and he said that our storyline had given him the courage to come out to his parents.
Wow.
That it had changed his life in such positive ways. And just to get to be a part of that was, it's why you do this. It's the importance of storytelling that gets lost sometimes in the day-to-day grind when I'm just trying to get a role and pay my bills and all of those things. I forget that that's part of why I got into this to begin with, right? Is that art has an impact. And so that was definitely personally a big moment for me. I had a fun one on the way so the audition for that, to get into that project was multi-project. I think I did like initial read with casting, and then I did a callback, and then I did a producer session, and then they wanted to do a chemistry read with me and the two other actors who were playing the couple that I got involved with. And that's not that normal. You don't always do chemistry reads. So a lot of uncertainty there. You don't know what they're going to ask you to do, especially, like some of these scenes that there's intimacy, and are we expected to be physical in this audition? I don't know. There's just a lot of uncertainty going in. So I'm very nervous. It's my birthday, actually. And on this studio, they've asked me to wear something because I play a go-go dancer, actually. So I've been asked to wear something skin tight. And, I'm making my way onto this studio lot, just like trying to breathe through the nerves, and walking down the hall, and there's this big group just kind of bombing down the hall by me, and it's pretty clear that there's a woman in the middle, and it's kind of her group, and the rest is kind of her entourage. And I look up and I do a double take. It's Tiffany Haddish.
Oh my gosh!
Right? So, but whatever. I'm just walking by. I'm just kind of getting out of the way, and without breaking stride, she's just like power walking down the hall. She looks me up and down, and she goes, "Dang, you look so good." Thank you. And definitely increased the confidence walking. That,
that's why you got the part.
Yes.
I think so. I think she gave me a little bit of her shine for that little bit. Because we're talking about Good Will Hunting later, and we'll talk about this, how important that movie is. And in some ways, I think it's why I got into this career path. I had an opportunity at one point to be a body double / stand-in for Matt Damon, which is not the type of work I would normally take. It's just not that there's anything wrong with it, but I feel like if that becomes your work, that becomes your work. You don't be an actor outside of that. And so I would normally say no, but because it was Matt Damon, and he has a career guy who like is his stand-in body double, but for some reason he wasn't available. This was like a collaboration between Stella Artois and his Water.org nonprofit. And so they just needed somebody last minute. And I was like, absolutely. So I got the chance to kind of be Matt Damon on set and meet him really briefly, and just meet somebody who had inspired me was a nice moment. So that was a fun one.
Very cool.
Let's see. I mean, I got, like I said, I got a bunch of them. I can keep going.
Let's do one more.
Okay.
I mean, I would sit here all day and listen to it, but we only have 30 minutes, unfortunately.
I have a fun one. Well, for me, it was fun, at least. I did a Drop Dead Diva, which was a show on Lifetime.
Yeah, I watched that show.
Yeah, so a lot of fun. And they flew me out to Atlanta for that one. And anyway, so I'm on set, and there's this thing that they say on set when they're ready to like lock down a shot, and they say, lock it up. And for me, there's a scene in Wedding Crashers where the two guys are Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson are arguing, and they're like, lock it up. No, you lock it up. No, you lock it up. I can't hear somebody say lock it up without saying, no, you lock it up. And like over my course of my career, like some people get it and some people don't. So like I've started saying it kind of under my breath, but it's just like, it's a reaction to this point. I can't not say it. So I'm like, no, you lock it up. And it's my second day on set. I haven't really met anybody or anything, but Brooke Elliott, the star of the show, hears me, and she, without taking a beat, she goes, no, you lock it up. And then like, it was just this big ice breaking moment for us. And we're like, it was a really long day of shooting in the courtroom, which is like very difficult and technical and not the most inspiring work. And we ended up just cracking up all day. And like, I consider her one of my real good friends at this point. Like she's a lifelong friend. And that's where it started, that moment, the you lock it up moment. So thank you to Wedding Crashers for that one.
People bonding over Wedding Crashers is always a good way to start.
That's right.
Yes.
Very cool.
Awesome. All right. So I think now we're going to get into our movie discussion.
Thank you, Derek Smith, for joining us. Now we're going to switch over to our featured film. Today we're discussing the 1997 film Good Will Hunting. The movie is directed by Gus Van Sant and stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, Minnie Driver, and Robin Williams. It was written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and they actually won an Oscar for it, and Robin Williams actually won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in this film. Heads up, we will be spoiling the movie. It is from 1997, though, so you've had a shot to watch it. Susan, why don't you give us a quick breakdown? What was this movie about?
Yeah, so this follows the story of Will Hunting. He's from the south side of Boston. He grew up as an orphan. He now works as a janitor at MIT, but he is actually a mathematical genius. So he starts solving these really difficult mathematical theorems late at night when no other students are around or on the weekends. And one of the professors discovers that he's solving these, and then that's kind of where his kind of transformation journey starts. And he really starts getting into the academic world and kind of seeing what that's about. There's a love story intertwined with Minnie Driver. Yeah.
And he comes from a rough background.
He's not who you'd expect to be a big math genius, but that's kind of the basis of the story, is that sort of underdog story, fish out of water.
And he's required to then see therapy, so he has to talk to Robin Williams.
Yes.
And they form a relationship, and that's kind of what the movie's about. Mm-hmm. So, Derek, you recommended we watch this. Why did you pick this film?
First and foremost, I love this movie. I could talk about all the ways that I love this movie for days. So, good luck editing this down. So, as you guys know, I was having a hard time picking a film, and I ended up picking this one because it's also personal to me and personal to my acting journey. I didn't grow up acting. I didn't grow up in the arts at all. I was an athlete and a student, and that was kind of it. And then this movie came out, and immediately I started getting compared to this actor and this character. I think I looked a little bit like a young Matt Damon. We have a similar vocal quality. So right then, just that comparison started putting acting somehow into my head, somewhere in the background, right? And then, Will Hunting, I think I was going through some stuff as a young man, and I was doing well in a lot of things, showing a lot of potential, but also screwing it up from some behavioral things. So that's how that comparison came by. And then once I got into my acting career, again, partially because I think Good Will Hunting had planted this seed. One of my biggest roles that I ever booked, which actually never saw the light of the day, which is one of these things that happens in acting. There's so many hurdles to things, but I was just starting out my career. I had only done a very small role on Criminal Minds, and I was auditioning. I got very lucky that I got to audition for a series regular role on what was a Lifetime pilot, it's called. So a new show coming on to Lifetime. The regulars are the main characters, and that's a quantum leap, going from just a co-star to a series regular. So even having that opportunity was amazing. But through that process, I had nothing on my resume. So I wrote in there, does Matt Damon impression or whatever. I didn't even know what that meant exactly. So the casting director in the first session goes, "Oh, what's that mean?" And I was like, well, I guess I do a little bit of the monologue from Good Will Hunting, the NSA monologue.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, let me hear that." And so I do the last little bit, which immediately has a bad word in it. So I won't do it for you right now, but I figure, forget it. Why don't I just shoot that one? Right. So I give her that little bit and she loves it. Right. And there's no exaggeration. I think I had to audition 6 times for this, right? Wow. And through every step of the process, you're meeting new people. And every step of the way, she'd be like, "Hey, why don't you give them that Good Will Hunting monologue just at the end?" And I think it's something that set me apart. I think it's something that made them remember me a little bit more than just everybody doing the same material. And I ended up booking that role. And again, it's something that never saw the light of day. It didn't get greenlit. It didn't get the approval of Lifetime, but it put me into a new stratosphere. It got me so many more opportunities. And so again, I have Good Will Hunting to thank for that as well. So those are the personal reasons why.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. You have
that's a big connection.
A professional connection to the film. That's very cool. What about this movie do you think is great? Because number one, I know it's written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about those two guys. I think Ben Affleck's actually turned into a really great director. I've seen a lot of his stuff, and Matt Damon's been a great actor for a long time. And of course, they won an Oscar, as I said before, for writing this for original screenplay. But I think the movie is pretty incredible. And what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I remember really liking it when it first came out, and watching it now, it still holds up. There's still a lot. I feel like the ultimate kind of lesson in it is pretty universal, so that holds up really well. But just really great scenes, really great monologues in this movie. Like the NSA monologue, great. I love Robin Williams' monologue when they're sitting in the park near the beginning. Just really awesome moments like that.
Guys, Robin Williams is special. He's great, just in everything. And his stand-up was great. And he personally, of course, had struggles in his life. But in this movie, he is phenomenal. He does that role so well. He's so believable, and him and Stellan Skarsgård are both very, very good. Even if Stellan Skarsgård is a straight-up creep in this movie, and I did want to mention that has not aged well.
Where he's talking to his students,
he's hitting on all of his young female students.
I don't think it's supposed to age well, though, right? We're not supposed to see those scenes and think, "Oh, this is a good guy," right? That's
that's true.
He's not a villain, but he's also not like
that's part of
right.
Yeah, that's part of what I love about this movie is that there isn't a villain. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I think that we have a tendency now, not only in our film storytelling, but in general, our general discourse right now is binary. Mm-hmm. We want everything to be good or evil or Democrat or Republican or whatever it is, right? And that's just not what real life is. And to see a movie that handles that so beautifully with complex, real characters who are flawed but not irredeemable is lovely. I can sing, like I said, I can sing this movie's praises till I'm blue in the face. Robin Williams, to say he's incredible is understatement. I mean, what a loss. Truly. And to see him in a dramatic role, I love that. I love when we see comedic actors showing, because comedies don't get their fair shake. Comedy is difficult, incredibly difficult. And so to see him, and especially his comedy, which is so high energy and so outlandish and all these different voices, and it's rapid fire and it's blah, 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 blah. And to see him so grounded in this rich emotion is just, he's a special talent. He's also, if the stories that I've heard are true, he's a big part of the reason why this movie got made with the budget it got made for. I believe that they were trying to make it for much less than what they were hoping to get to make it the quality film that they thought it could be. And it came across his desk and he said, "I want to do this." And immediately money came pouring in.
Oh, very cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because it is one of those classic Hollywood stories of these actors going out, it's Sylvester Stallone with Rocky. It was like my generation's version of that, of actors who had they were doing pretty well, but just things hadn't quite panned out and they got frustrated and they revived. I believe it was a one act that Matt Damon had written while he was at Harvard, and they revived this and said, we're writing this for ourselves. So that success story is pretty fun. And then you alluded to their career paths after that. They both took really divergent paths after that, where Matt Damon was like, I'm going to do artsy indie flicks, and nobody went to see them. He did really great work in them, but nobody went to see them. He almost killed his career. Yeah. By the way, I think Matt Damon is a really, really underrated actor. I kind of liken it to I always say, if you're watching Sports Center Top 10, you'll see some incredible catches, and then you'll see some catches where the guys were really good at making it look incredible, but it wasn't that incredible, and they get to the top 10. Matt Damon makes really difficult catches look routine.
Yeah.
That we don't appreciate him for that reason. Is it just
Yeah.
so simple, and the work he's doing is not. It's not simple at all. But anyway, so he did his like art house thing, and really it was the Bourne Identity that ended up saving his career.
Bring it back, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whereas Ben Affleck went the other way, and he's like, I'm going to do these big budget action films. I'm going to be this leading man and whatever. And Reindeer Games, nobody went and saw it. And
I saw it actually, but it wasn't great.
I saw it too, but it wasn't great. And I honestly think that Ben Affleck gets a bad rap because I think he was at that point. I don't think he had matured enough as an artist. I think he was playing at like the idea of being a leading man. Where Ben Affleck is a great character actor, and he has so much charisma naturally. I just think he was not letting himself be himself in those roles. And it's unfortunate because people still crack jokes about Ben Affleck isn't a good actor. It's not accurate. Ben Affleck is a great actor. He just made some bad early career choices, and he's more than redeemed himself. People used to say like Matt Damon is the one who really wrote that script or whatever. Ben Affleck has been writing and directing phenomenal movies. I think he's shown us a big part of that process. So,
well, and especially writing about growing up in Boston, like the town. I mean, I think you're right. Ben Affleck, I mean, I've seen him in some stuff where he's really incredible. And as a director, I think when he's in projects that he directs, he's really incredible too. Yeah. So. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's really where his talent lies. I mean, he's not my favorite Batman, but he's still extremely talented.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Who is your favorite Batman?
Well, I have a soft spot for Adam West. My favorite Batman is Kevin Conroy, but we're not here to talk about Batman.
No Michael Keaton mentioned at all there, though, huh?
No Michael Keaton from Ben.
I love Michael Keaton, but he's not my favorite. He's my Beetlejuice. Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Danny Elfman did the score of this movie. I mean, they have some really heavy hitters that made this film, and it's pretty impressive. And it really does make you sit and think after the film. It leaves you with a lot, to process, even though all the math could have been totally made up and I would have no idea, but it looked great on film.
That's all that matters.
Watching this is a nice reminder because, like, you hear a lot of people complain that Hollywood sometimes kind of regurgitates a lot of stuff. They remake a lot of stuff. It can get repetitive, but, like, there can be completely unique, awesome movies that come out that are, like, very popular and also critically acclaimed. So it's a nice reminder to see one of those original movies and be like, no, there is cool stuff coming out. You don't want to get jaded and think they're just going to remake another superhero movie, or they're just going to remake Batman for the 900th time. Like,
that's the same thing.
Well, there are no new stories, just new ways of telling them.
Right.
The old mode, right?
Right.
I think that we're in a place in Hollywood where movies like this are not being made as often, or if they are, they're being buried under the 8 different million platforms and just the like immense amount of content that we have now. But yeah, the movies that we go see in theaters when theaters open again, fingers crossed, are usually they're franchisable and they're based upon some intellectual property that already has a built-in audience, because it's about the bottom line. They're trying to make money, and so investing in these one-off stories it becomes a little bit more difficult. I would say that in some ways, Good Will Hunting is a superhero story, though.
Yes, you're right.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
we're looking at somebody with this otherworldly talent trying to make his way through the world. It's unique in that it doesn't have a clearly defined bad guy. As I said, there are anti-heroes, sort of, but there's not enemies really there. And
well, the bad guy is sort of his past, right? Of like what he has to overcome.
Yeah, it's really just his self-sabotage. But there's really no one in the movie working against him, other than like him sometimes working against himself.
And even his friends, it's the struggle of, do I want to be comfortable and do this manual labor job with my friends and hang out and drink beer all day, or do I want to do something more with my life? And it's not like the friends are trying to hold him back. Quite the opposite. There's a big scene where Ben Affleck's like, no, dude, you got to get out of here. You got to try to achieve what you can do. And so I thought that was nice to see. They didn't go with like the bland, like, oh, the people don't want me to try to make something out of myself. They really did have realistic characters who actually care for each other, which was nice.
There's also the struggle between, like, do I just want professional accolades, or do I want to fall in love and, like, have a life with this woman? Like, there's that tension, too, which is also represented with the 2 professors.
Right.
Like, no one's ever, like, rooting against Matt Damon. No one in his life is like,
how do we define success, right?
Yeah.
big part of this story too. Is it the American dream? Is it capitalism, or is it matters of the heart and those things? And there's the big class divide. And I just thought this film was so brilliantly. Even that you'll see scenes juxtaposed throughout it that are like, you'll go from an MIT reunion, or Stellan Skarsgård and Robin Williams are sitting across a table from each other having this like wrestling of the minds, and it'll immediately cut to Casey Affleck and Cole Hauser, now of Yellowstone fame. Yeah. Cool to see him still working, great actor, wrestling in this like jump house, and it's just so thoughtfully done in every detail.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's definitely a lot of play between like the different classes. Obviously, you know, Matt Damon doesn't think he belongs when he's, you know, doing his janitor work. He's always trying to like shirk away from people and try to, you know, not just trying to hide quite a bit. Versus, you know, when the professors go to try to track him down and they go to that garage and the guys are like, oh, who are these, you know, uppity, you know, high class guys. So, you know, the movie does play with that level of, you know, Matt Damon sort of stuck between these worlds of, you know, blue collar versus white collar. And I do think you're right. The movie does a nice, you know, job pitting those worlds against each other.
And he ends up meeting Sean, Robin Williams, who has a foot in both of those worlds as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Who becomes sort of his guide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful relationship. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What's that? There's that old Jimmy V speech, you know, the famous speech that he's giving when he had his cancer diagnosis. And, you know, who I'm talking about, the old basketball coach. Mm-hmm. He's talking about things that you need to do every day. Like you need to cry every day. You need to laugh every day. And I can watch this movie and do both of those things probably 9 times in 90 minutes. So
yeah,
it's special to me. It's special storytelling for sure.
Yeah, even watching it, I mean, I watched it a bunch when it first came out, and then rewatching it, I still cry at all the same parts.
It's also infinitely quotable.
Like, yeah, it is.
You know, which is fun. There's lines there that you'll remember for life. Like, you know, how about them apples and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, it's a good thing that they're good actors, because so many of those lines could easily have been butchered, right? Especially when Matt Damon's going like a mile a minute, reciting either some kind of poetry or, you know, a reference to some kind of legal case or whatever he's doing, or math. You know, he's going so fast, and you can actually see him do a nice job of trying to like act like he's actually thinking about it, right? Not just, you know, spouting out stuff as fast as he can.
Yeah. It's good material in good hands.
Yeah, exactly. And it probably helps that he wrote it, to be fair.
Yeah.
But there's even some awkward lines that they left in, like when Skylar's leaving the bar and she's, you know, says like, maybe we can go get coffee. And he's like, or we could just go have a bunch of caramels.
Yeah.
It's arbitrary. He's drinking coffee. And it's an awkward moment between them. Right. And then caramels come back like a couple times later on in other scenes, right? Which
totally.
That was a very realistic moment where she was like, what? All right. And then awkwardly walks out of the bar.
Which, yeah, totally would happen in real life.
How about a soundtrack that is just littered with Elliott Smith?
Yeah.
Beautiful music as well, which is like kind of weird tonally to me. I've always thought the music in this film there's something a little, I don't want to say off about it, but it makes you think. And, you know, especially now after what happened with Elliott Smith, and we know all that, it's like it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Another element.
I've read, I have a copy of the script actually that somebody gave me a long time ago, and there's a foreword written by Gus Van Sant, and he talks about their writing process. And back then they didn't like flying. They would drive cross country all the time, and that would amount to Ben driving, Matt riding shotgun because Matt didn't like driving, which is because in the end of the film it actually is him driving, and Gus Van Sant says if you see the car kind of moving, it's because Matt Damon's not a very good driver. Basically it was Matt's job to create scenes, and he would improv with Ben to keep him awake because they were trying to get across the country in as little time as possible. I think they did it when their first meeting with Gus Van Sant, they had just driven across country in 57 hours or something like that. And so, yeah, that was his job. They would improv scenes together. And then if they loved them, he would write down notes in a notebook that he kept in the glove box. And then they'd get out and Ben would type them up. Ben also did the typing, would type them up on the laptop that they had. And they would fax each other scenes when they were in different, this is back in fax machine time, when they were filming on different locations, and they would do things like that. And
All right, so now I think we're going to move on to our game. So this game is called New Year, New You. So with the new year coming up, a lot of people use it as an opportunity to set some kind of goal for themselves, whether that's health-wise, career-wise. They set some kind of resolution, right? So we are going to be playing a game that talks about a lot of movies where the main character or one of the characters goes through a huge transformation. The way this is going to work is I'm going to send you
Physical transformation. Sorry, I just want to clarify.
Yeah, physical transformation. You're right.
Right mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, so the character is going to be going through some huge physical transformation. So the way this is going to work is you guys are going to be working together. Ben has not seen the movies. Derek has also not seen the movies. I'm going to send each of you a list of, I believe it's 7 movies. And you're going to take turns getting each other to guess them. So you're going to have the movie title and you're going to have the character in that movie who went through the transformation. You have to try to get the other person to guess without saying the character's name or the name of the movie. You can say anything.
Guess both the character and the movie title, or just one or the other?
You just have to guess the movie title. The character's just there so you know which one we're talking about. Because it's not always the main characters, but good question. So yeah, you just have to guess the movie title. But you also cannot say the character's name who is listed. We'll have 3 minutes. Try to get 7 movies. I think you guys will do it.
And what's our prize, Susan?
Our prize, we're still figuring out the prizes. It will probably be some kind of t-shirt. But we will mail it to you, whatever it is.
I just assume it's going to be awesome, so I'm really incentivized.
It'll be great.
It'll be awesome. It'll be delivered by Matt Damon.
Oh, that would be cool.
No.
Yeah,
of course
do
it
not
won't be.
promise that. Yeah, we'll start with Derek, and then we'll go to Ben, and we'll go back.
Yes.
3 minutes on the clock. Everybody ready to start?
Yes.
All right, go.
All right, Jeff Goldblum turns into an insect.
The Fly. All right, this one is a bad guy with a lightsaber who needs a breathing apparatus.
Oh, that's Darth Vader. Revenge of the Sith is the movie that he becomes in.
That is correct.
Okay, this is the most famous split personality character of all time.
Oh, the most famous split character. What else you got?
He has 2 different titles. One of them requires a PhD, maybe, or to go to medical school.
Oh, Dr. Hyde, Mr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde.
Flip them.
Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll.
I'll give you that. You had it all there.
This one is a Batman villain who's get his half of his body gets dismembered.
Two-Face. That was in. If we're going with the most recent one, that's the Dark Knight.
Correct.
Don't feed these things after midnight or pull.
Gremlin.
Yeah.
These are vehicles that turn into. Yes. And I think that's it.
You got it.
Okay.
The first Indiana Jones movie.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. All right. You got 7. You still have 1:30 though, if you want to just see how many you can get.
Let's get through this list.
Let's keep going. In this one, a police officer gets.
RoboCop.
Yep.
Yes.
This film series has the Marshmallow Man.
Ghostbusters.
Yep.
This one is directed by Tim Burton, and it's a series of it's a dad telling his son stories, and it has Danny DeVito in it. It has Ewan McGregor in it.
Why is this not ringing a bell?
I think it's from about 2000. We can pass if you don't know.
Oh, keep giving me stuff. Let's get it. I already got the prize.
Yeah, he's got the prize.
So if you were to go on a trip, you would take a reel and a boat, and you would go with lures. What do you do with lures?
Fishing?
Yes, and it's not small, but it's
big fish. Sorry.
Big fish is correct.
Of course, I should have known that one. All right, high school girl goes from nerdy to like prom queen.
Is it She's All That?
Yep.
All right. Tim Allen plays.
Yeah, he got it.
Okay.
The Santa Claus.
Yep.
Got one more. This was like South African film, sci-fi film, low budget.
District 9.
Yep.
And I have one more. It's Jim Carrey put something on his face.
The Mask.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you got it just like the buzzer went off right when you shouted mask.
Oh, we got all of them.
Yeah, you did. Good job.
Derek, you killed it.
Nice job.
I didn't know big fish though. That was
A tricky one though, because in real life he doesn't actually turn into a fish, but in the movie he turns. Yeah,
Right.
So he does. Yeah, so
That's a great
that's
movie.
a trick one.
We
Yeah.
should talk about that movie.
Danny DeVito threw me off.
Yeah,
I know.
There's a weird pull of the cast.
That's who I think of when I think of that movie.
When you think of Big Fish, who do you think of? Danny DeVito.
He has such a big part. I mean, it's a small part, but it stands out.
Well, awesome. Well, congratulations. You did win the prize. You actually got all 14 movies. So congratulations. We will send that to you.
Yeah.
in email.
T-shirt or mug or keychain or
Yeah.
Whatever we have laying around.
It'll be, yeah. It'll be something really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Derek, before we let you go, do you have anything you want to plug?
no.
That's okay.
Go watch What If you want to.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. Why not? Yeah, they're not bringing it back already, unfortunately. But
Still cool that your role had such an impact, though.
It's
That's
very cool.
I mean, that's huge, I think, to be something that affects people that way in a positive way, you know. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. And I got to be on a show with Renee Zellweger before she won her second Academy Award.
That's awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Derek, thank you for joining us. If any of you out there have a suggestion of a movie you want us to talk about, send us an email at talkietalkmovies@gmail.com. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thanks, guys.